committee. I need it, so maybe you do too, to just kind of settle in a little bit. Come into the room and settle our energy. Just recognizing where we are at this time in this sacred space. Unbelievably beautiful. Filled with holy objects, all the teachings. And allow your heart to soften and open. And just think how wonderful it is. Think of everything that went into creating this place, this beautiful space where we can practice. And it's not just the space, you see. They say if you build it, they will come. But it is really the Sangha. It's our loving, kind energy that brings people and keeps them here. Lama Yeshe once said, the most important aspect of the center is harmony, is loving kindness and harmony. I always try to remember that. So we could try to imbue the place with our loving hearts. We can come into our body, feel it here, in this moment, present. How is this body today? Grateful to have this body. It has the mind. We can give it permission now to be present, to release any fantasies about future planning. Release any ruminations over the past. And just be here, now. Resting evenly in momentary present awareness. Completely aware, awake. I think of Thich Nhat Hanh's prayer. I wake this morning and smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment, and to look upon all beings with eyes of love. And then that changes my demeanor. Just a smile and a thought of loving kindness. Imagine, if you will, dropping into your heart center. Your awareness there. And then allowing that awareness to travel up to the crown of your head. Out through the roof. On up and out. Gazing down at the world. And think about the nearly 8 billion people who are here. And all of the animals, the insects and fish, the reptiles and birds. So many sentient beings. Look down upon them and see them in your mind's eye. Think of them. And think of the many things that they do for you. Growing your food and distributing your food, making your clothing, providing transportation, building your homes, so many things. Without the sentient beings, upon whom would we rely? Just for our basic needs. We are completely interdependent. So I think I wish to repay their kindness. But how would I do that? I must actually first reach a state of perfect enlightenment. So let us make that be our intention for today's practices. To benefit every one of those living beings that came into our mind's eye, and all those that we have yet to meet, all our friends and family, all the troublemakers in our life. May we actualize our full human potential so that we might lead them to that state. And in order to do so, let us engage in meditation practice to grow our concentration, checking our posture first, that our spine is straight, a posture of dignity, allowing the energy to flow freely through the body. And coming to our crown, allowing it, this awareness, to take the form of a gentle warm light. And let it begin to float down from your crown. And checking for any tension or tightness, allowing it to soften and release the brow. Notice there is a difference. Be aware of what's happening in your body. as you release the tension. The jaw. What does it feel like? All of the facial muscles have succumbed to gravity. Coming into your neck. Across your shoulders. It's useful to lift it a bit and then let them fall. See, yes. Letting down your arms. Directing attention all the way down to the tips of your fingers. Feeling your hands resting gently in your lap. And coming back up to float down your torso, your upper back, particularly around your shoulder blades. Release your chest. Come into the small of your back. And notice your solar plexus. Sometimes there's a tangle of tension. Let your belly be soft. Receiving full breath. Come down all the way to your sit bones. Let your hips release and your glutes be soft. Running down through your thighs, softening. Notice. Give some love to your knees. Down through your calves, past your ankles, to the soles of your feet and the tips of your toes. Allow the body to be completely filled with this warm, relaxing light. All the cells released, relaxed, still. Feel the places where your body touches the seat. Out of the head into the ground, and deeply into this body. Feel a sense of stability. Of being safe to completely let go. The whole body. Relax. Still. Mind is vigilant. Notice again your spine. Notice how easy it is to collapse. From time to time in meditation, we check and gently allow it to stretch towards the sun. Notice the breath in the body, how it breathes without any force or impedance, just on its own. Nothing to do, nothing to undo. Just momentary present awareness as the body breathes, attending to the breath in the body. That's all. Making a strong intention to stay present. Not to become distracted. To turn now, one pointedly, to the sensation at the tip of the nose as the body breathes. A strong determination to stay vigilant, attending to that sensation. Knowing the full cycle as you breathe in and as you breathe out. If counting is useful, count a full cycle of 10. And when the mind is somewhat subdued, let go of counting. Recognizing the breath begin to turn attention to the space within which the breath flows, expanding awareness. Just attending to the space-like nature of mind. And rest there. We can always return to the breath at any point as an anchor. Allow the awareness to simply begin to grow, to expand out. Become like the sky. Just resting, just aware. The knowing of knowing. Notice the energy. And the stillness in harmony, a balance, not too tight, not too loose. Just right. When you're ready, open your eyes and be here in this. You have some comment about that meditation? Some question? Good morning, Zoomland. It is meditation that opens us up to the world. by growing our ability to remain present, we begin to actually live. Ken McLeod wrote a great book called Wake Up to Your Life. I read it many, many years ago. But he had a meditation in it that was about change. And he started with the grand things, the galaxy, the universe. He came back in how the mountains change, and the trees, and the rivers, and the oceans, and the societies, and governments, and philosophies, and art, and our bodies. I recorded that for myself. It's just a one page. I recorded it for myself so I could listen to it. I was really touched by it because if I think about how I believe the world is the way the world is. And I was talking to my partner yesterday, or before I came, who's reading a book on indigenous America. And there were 500 tribes of natives before the whites came here. So he was talking about dates. When was it? In 1642, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? But they had way before. And then even up until we became the United States of America. Really? Yes. When you look at the Aztecs, that's something like more recent in my world. If you think about the Romans, they're gone. So then we think about, I think about climate change. Oh, okay. Things are changing. Societies are shifting. Boundaries, countries, they're all arbitrary, aren't they? And we fight over it. Sometimes I despair at the state of the country. You know, wow, so much violence, so much hatred. Does it seem hopeless? And then I realized that until greed and hatred and ignorance are eliminated, we will always have these kinds of destructive activities arising out of ignorance. So now I'm trying to come to grips with that. Okay, so what do I do about it? Yesterday, we were talking about feelings. You remember Phyllis said that I don't remember who it was that mentioned that when a feeling arises, rather than transforming it, you go right into it and it evaporates. I think those were the words. And I said, yes, that is transforming. It is transforming to look at a feeling that's arising, allow it to just move through, allow it to be. And I wanted to be really clear that there is a difference between pain and pleasure and suffering and happiness. We will have pain and pleasure. It's inevitable. But whether we suffer or have happiness around the events in our life is totally dependent on us. We have the potential to change what is in our mind. We have the potential to change what is around us, perhaps. And we change what we can. But then we also have to have the equanimity to be able to be with what we cannot change. and not get swept down the river of misery by it, which is so easy to do. To be able to recognize that pain exists, pleasure exists. Lama Yeshe used to say, oh dear, enjoy as much as possible without grace. To recognize, as Ken McLeod's meditation on change, that everything is changing. Moment by moment, it's changing. But we have an attitude of things being permanent, of being able to put it in place, make it nice, and that it will stay that way. But it doesn't. It might stay that way for a period of time. It will change. And whether or not we're able to remain peaceful within it comes from our attitude, comes from our mind, from our recognition that everything changes, that nothing is permanently satisfactory, and that nothing has any inherent self-nature. It is our mind that imbues everything with its qualities. That we say our world comes from our mind. If it came from the outside, everyone would see everything in the same way, and it wouldn't change. And that would be a disaster to not be able to change. So it is changing. That is a definite, that everything is changing. So being able to recognize that. When we sit, let me ask you, when you sit in meditation, do you have a sense of changing? It's changing. Or does it just stay where you place it as some sort of solid moving? Can you see subtle change even when you have directed attention that's focused? See, it is changing moment by moment. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating to watch. It's important for us to develop that fascination too. Otherwise, how easy it is to get bored. But we develop this sort of scientific view of, okay, we've listened to the teachings, we understand that everything is impermanent. Yes, we know that. But how can we see it? Can we recognize it? It's actually a blessing to be able to say that it's impermanent, because when things are unpleasant, that's a tool you can use to say, yes, my daughter says this too will change. So the key to creating a happier, healthier life, more peaceful, more satisfied, is to be awake, to be aware, and to use the tools that we have been given to transform our negative mind. So we don't have to take that on faith. We can see that actually happens. We can see that when our mind is captured by greed, I want that the mind is not at peace. I watch. I watch. So let's just think about it for a minute. Someone shows you something. This beautiful cup. And you think, oh, that was really lovely. It would be nice to have some of those in my cabinet. But I don't think about it again in that moment. And then I might be at home and I'm looking in my cabinet with all of the mixed matched cups. And I think, wouldn't it be nice if I had a whole set of those? And then I might want to. But then it comes again. I think, I wonder where they came from. So then I find out where they came from. And then I look. And then I order. So it's that, the links of dependent origination. You come into contact with something, A feeling arises. You want more of what you like, less of what you don't. And you're indifferent to what, have no feeling, a neutral, something neutral. So then, with thought, with repetition, we cultivate that. We cultivate that wanting until it becomes craving. Oh. And we grow that craving and it becomes grasping, which now becomes an irresistible urge. I am going to go online and I'm going to order that lovely cup. It might not even be for myself. Maybe I'm going to give that to someone, but I'm going to do that. There's this irresistible urge to become the one that has it. To be able to watch that happen, to see the mind being dissatisfied with, oh, that's looking shabby, I better replace that. But in fact, it's completely serviceable. So I can either grow my dissatisfaction with the shabbiness of that item, and eventually I will become the one that has a new one, or I can be satisfied with what I have because it's completely serviceable. Do you see how it works? It's working, this works life to life because it is this becoming that we have cultivated, this idea. When we are grasping onto the self at the time of death, that's what pushes us into birth, aging, and death, and to do it again. So it happens again and again and again and again. But it happens momentarily in our life. To wake up to our life, to become more and more cognizant of what it is that is arising in our mind, we have to train our mind to be mindful, to be present, to be awake. And when we are awake, we smell the roses because we see them and we pause. We're not rushing from here to there, but we're actually awake and aware. So it is this sort of obsession about wanting and not wanting that destroys our happiness. Because in the moment, peace is available in every moment. Peace is here right now. You see. It is. And when you have a taste of it, when you recognize it and you say, oh, yeah. Rick Hanson, the author of Buddha's Brain and Hardwiring Happiness, Dr. Rick Hanson, he's a neuropsychologist and a meditation teacher. I read his books a long time ago, but one of the things that struck me was taking in the good because it resonates with karma, which is the teachings on karma. He said, neuropsychology, neuroscience has shown that when you create an action, it creates a neural pathway. And if you hold that action in your mind for 20 seconds, it goes into long-term memory. So if you do a good deed and you think about it, you rejoice in it, and you hold it in your mind for 20 seconds, it goes into long-term memory, and the chances of doing it again are greater. William James said, that to which we attend in the moment becomes our reality. So to think like that, to recognize when we do something good. Oh, we do many good things during the day, many good small deeds. We give our pets food. We don't think anything of it. But to stop and pause and say, isn't it great? You're a sweet kitty or a nice dog. And here, enjoy. And just to revel in the fact that you're able to take care of that pet. You open a door for someone at the grocery store. We just don't think anything of it. Just open the door. But if we think, it's good to help. And as you walk down the aisle for 20 seconds, looking for ways to help. Our world shifts. There's an alchemical transformation that happens when we begin to think about others and transform our thought patterns into cultivating goodness, cultivating virtue, cultivating thoughts that bring happiness, and eliminating thoughts that bring suffering. Noticing. The only way to do that is to be able to notice. We need to be able to know what we're thinking, to recognize what we're thinking and what the effect of that is on our body. When we recognize that, then there's a change because we see the benefit. We see that we are more at peace. We see the great joy that happens when our antenna is up. How can I help you? We're looking for ways to help. And the heart's open. See, when you have an open heart, you're happy. It just works that way. So when I was in 3-year retreat in the beginning, I watched the FPMT Discovering Buddhism videos back when I had a video player. And Richard Gere was one of the introducers to one of these modules. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember him saying that when he was a child, he used to say, "May you be happy," to the ants and the worms and whatever, to anyone in nature. And it had been my habit when I was walking every day to chant Om Mani Padme Hum. And I thought, well, what if I chanted Om, may you be happy? Because I know the meaning of the Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel in the lotus, wisdom, help and compassion. So I thought, well, I think Chenrezig would be very happy. So that's what I did. I started chanting, Om, may you be happy, Om, may you be happy, with my beads going down the driveway. And when I came upon, I was in silence, except for chanting. So I came upon a neighbor who was walking toward me. And I stopped chanting out loud and just bowed. And the neighbor was walking with someone who was tearful. And, I felt the compassion for that person and thought, oh, may you be happy. And I come to find out that she'd just broken up with her boyfriend, was sad. When I went home, just the idea of wishing someone to be happy shifts the way I interact, the way I think, the way I feel. The same thing when I see the rattlesnake. May you be happy. I live in the woods. The deer who are eating the garden, the gophers. If I think may you be happy, then there isn't a sense of irritation that arises. May you be happy. Lama Rinpoche, back in the early 90s, I think. I had a graphic design and print business. And so he wanted to make bumper stickers. And we did. He had a car that was a van. It was the most amazing van that had these stickers on it. That was no anger equals no enemies. For happiness, cherish others. And then Buddha images. We're talking a van driving along the streets of Santa Cruz. And so we had bumper stickers like that. And I remember, for happiness, cherish others. That bumper sticker. And in Light of the Path, he was always talking about bodhicitta mindfulness. How it is that we glue onto our actions loving kindness, wish to be enlightened, opening the door to liberation. brushing my teeth and removing all the suffering from all the sentient beings. There were numberless ones. People were putting them on the mirrors in bathrooms, on Post-its. And we can make them our own. Closing the door to samsara. Going down into the hells as we go downstairs and going to bring them all out. Opening the door to enlightenment. There are so many ways that we can train our mind in the Dharma that actually makes a very real change in the mind. Why? Because the mind is empty. The mind is empty, spacious, and pure. And it is the habit of the mind that arises in the mind. So if I go to sleep at night and lay my head down in my Lama's lap, think about all of the good deeds that I did during the day, rejoice in them, and think about the mistakes and wish to be free of those. I'm training my mind, even in my dreams, to be like that. And waking up like Thich Nhat Hanh, wake with a smile. Try that some morning. Put your feet on the floor and say, I wake up this morning and smile. And I do this every day now, but I go in, if I haven't said it yet in my mind's eye, when I go into the bathroom and see my face, I smile. I smile. And it changes the way I feel about the day. Right now, in this very moment, it changes. So we can see if we're paying attention what's happening in our body. Notice when you're irritated, what happens in your body. This tightness. But with practice in meditation, having an understanding and a personal experience, not just intellectual, but experientially, to really feel in your body what it's like to be at peace, to be between the barrage thought, to recognize that space of awareness, and then be able to revisit it again and again, realizing that in this moment, I can be there. Like the prayer says in the sadhana, I prostrate to the feet of the Lama. O Guru, your holy body is like a jewel. It's through your kindness that the state of great bliss will be attained in an instant. Through recollection. Just because it is there. That's the most important thing. We're not trying to create some state when we meditate, some different kind of state of mind. We're uncovering, parting the veil to be able to reveal the true nature. And to think like that it's here now. Each one of us has this Buddha nature. What is Buddha nature? What do you think? Somebody? Tell me.
Peace.
Peace. I don't know your name, sorry.
I'm Stephen.
Stephen, hi. Stephen.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Well, I guess you could say there's two. There's conventional Buddha nature, which you described at the beginning, the space-like influence. No, I shouldn't say that. I should say it's more the quality of the mind to allow thoughts to arise and thoughts to dissipate. It's the conventional Buddha nature, the developmental Buddha nature. And then there's the ultimate Buddha nature, the non-abiding image, which is the emptiness of the mind from beginningless time.
Isn't that wonderful? Did you hear that? Okay. Conventional and ultimate Buddha nature. Okay. Yes, because precisely that, this naked awareness within which everything is contained, sensory perception and phenomenal appearances arise within that. And that is conventional reality. And ultimate reality is that it's empty in inherent existence. Does that make sense? Please repeat it. Please repeat what you just said. What I just said? Naked awareness is rewind. Naked awareness is conventional reality in which it contains everything. Sensory perception and phenomenal appearances appear within naked awareness. So within this naked awareness, this mirror, if you see your mind as a mirror, pretty clear, beautiful mirror, everything is reflected within it. Whatever passes through it is reflected within that mirror. But the mirror is not changed. It's empty of any inherent quality, completely empty. But what we do, we see the mirror, what's in the mirror, as real. And we either like it or we don't like it. Or we don't really care very much. So like that is to recognize that we all have this amazing quality in which we can take refuge in any moment. It's not like being a Pollyanna and sweeping it under the rug. This is important because pain exists, pleasure exists, and it's inevitable within cyclic existence to have an experience. It's not that you are unenlightened if you cry when your llama dies. It's not that you shouldn't be sad when your dog is sick. It's not that we're trying to come to a space of no emotion, no feeling. The Dalai Lama cries when people from Tibet come and explain their circumstances. But as I said, he doesn't get swept down the river of misery. He also laughs, but that doesn't make him hardened. Oh, he's not holding on to that pain. Hello, Shaka. This is what we have to remember. It's not a matter of making a blank mind. It's growing this compassion and love and wisdom and joy that is our potential. And it's our birthright. And we do have the possibility of recognizing, of actualizing, of growing it. And we see, I think, over time, when we practice, that it changes our world. What appears in our world, less and less we have anger. Less and less we have irritation, jealousy. Because when it arises, we recognize it. And we immediately recognize its empty nature. That it's coming due to causes and conditions. And we don't want to create the cause for it to come again. If we have an argument, we have disparate views, what do we do about it? We try to solve it in harmony. Because, if we're like this, we create no harmony. We create no dharma. Lama used to say, if there's no harmony, there's no dharma. He said, first the people. I think that's I think it's true. Because disharmony shatters our inner peace. So working through our negative mind, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We can work through it by recognizing that we do have something other than that. We don't have to hold them. we have the potential to be completely in love and to give over the victory to others. What's of the most benefit? Even if it's my idea. My idea is really good. And yours is okay. But if we recognize that giving the victory to someone else, if we think of it as empty, I think of it in a relationship, you and your partner. You have an idea to do it this way, they have an idea to do it this way. And usually my idea is right. Keith will tell you that. But I realize that it doesn't matter. I say that with tongue in cheek. That's not true that my idea is always right, but I think it's always right. And therefore I might dig my heels in and want to do it my way. But in fact, his way works. So why not? Why do I have to hold on to it? So it's like working like that to think what's for the greatest benefit? What brings peace of mind? Which is why I think giving the victory to others is such a profound teaching. Giving the victory to others. So I told myself that I would be sure to give a break after an hour, and it's been just after an hour. So 5 minutes so we can stretch and use the restroom. Then we'll come back, okay? Mummy Max, I wanted to thank the Sangha here for taking care of her. She, without her, you wouldn't be here. Do you know that? Do you know her history? Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche were supported by her in creating Kopan and creating Mount Everest Center. She had a business. She created beautiful Western dresses out of Indian saris. Fabulous. The rag trade, she used to call it. And it was Mummy Max that was instrumental in getting Lama's house in Rio del Mar in Santa Cruz, where Lama came at the end of his life. His bushy students, that he called us, the bushy people, cared for him in that house. So really, remembering the kindness of the people who brought us the Dharma, remembering the kindness of the people who create the centers. Without them, they wouldn't be here. So often we take for granted, because I have been part of the center since the 70s. I was there when it was redwood trees, and now it's a retreat center. So I know what it's like to build a center. Not that I had anything to do with it, but I was there and I watched. And I go to centers and I sit down and enjoy the teachings, but I also watch the people who are preparing the food, who are cleaning up afterwards, who have set up the chairs. And I think about this center and what cause was created to bring it here. And how do we sustain it? How do we grow it? Each one of us. It's like meeting the Dharma is a double-edged sword. Because now you have a responsibility. See, you have received the teachings. So you have a responsibility to actualize them in your life, to use them and to pass them on. And to find skillful means to do that in this Western world. Lama Yeshe was very keen on developing universal education, to use Western psychology and science to bring Buddhism into the West so that people could understand it from that perspective. And he was really out of the box when it came to practice. I would say. Yeah. Lamas was one of a kind. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for taking care of Mommy Max. And I haven't seen her for numberless years, so I really would like to see her. Okay, good. So now we're back in the room, right? So please, just come here. Come to your seat. Come to your body. And look at the mind. If you have a hard time finding the mind, then it is useful, I find, to drop into the heart. And from that perspective, allow awareness to grow outward in all directions. And allow it to fill the room. And then just allow it to rest in its natural place without sending it out or bringing it in. Let this awareness be. And as we train our mind, slowly, slowly, as Lama would say, slowly, slowly, dear. What we have learned about dependent arising, things coming from causes and conditions, what we have learned about that, and what we have learned about emptiness begins to take on real meaning. And we might have this aha moment. Wow, it is like that. It is exactly like that. Just as the Buddha said, my mind fabricates its experience of the world. And it repeats that experience over and over again. Through thought, through speech, through action. Just sit with that awareness for a moment. Everything I think, everything I say, everything I do, plants a seed for future experience. So what kind of a garden do I want to create? We have three things. We have naked awareness, within which everything is appearing. This is like a canvas where mental formations appear. And we have those mental formations, right? The content, the thoughts, the emotions, the moods, the intentions, the plans, the memories and concepts, the fantasies and fears, the whole realm of mental activity, the content of the mind. And then we have our very own triple gem, a sense of I, me, and mine. A sense that I am this is me, and these are mine. This is my awareness. These are my thoughts and feelings and emotions and sensations. Mine. And somehow, this I feels to be more important and in charge of the experiences of my life. Existing separately from an ongoing stream of consciousness. My very own Oz. These 5 aggregates that I call Elaine. My form, my feelings, my sensory perceptions, my mental formations, and my consciousness. These 5 aggregates. See if you can experience a sense of that. That there is someone here who is the puppeteer, who's in control. This I illusion appears most strongly when we've been challenged. We don't get what we want. We get what we don't want. We lose what we love. Someone cuts us off on the freeway. Some kind of energy of a person who's been wronged. This is a good way to find that one, to experience it when a strong emotion appears. And when it does, if we take it to the cushion and we look at the feeling in the body and mind, when the I is most apparent, we think, aha, if you do exist, you must be findable. And we look. If you were a farmer and you lost your cow, it wasn't in the barn, you wouldn't just look around the barnyard. You would look everywhere. And this is the kind of attitude we have when we are trying to determine how this I exists. Master Chandrakirti, in the introduction to the Guide to the Middle Way, says seeing with awareness that all faults and afflictions arise from the view of the transitory collection, and recognizing the self as its object, yogis strive to negate the self. So when we have come to a place in our meditation where we are sitting in this space-like nature of mind, this open, empty, vast, luminous clarity, and a thought arises. We might ask ourselves, whose thought? Does someone own that thought? It's a useful exercise. And if you have time to actually look, and this is where it's useful to be able to experience in the moment when the I is appearing, and to recall that experience of the feeling when someone belittled you, told you they didn't want to work with you anymore. We can remember the feeling in your stomach, the tightness, and you go back there. And you try to find someone who is experiencing that experience. If you don't know what the I looks like or feels like, it's hard to find them. So we have to ascertain that as we come looking. Some sense of a real solid me, with real solid thoughts, feelings, emotions, mental images, mind. And when we say seeing with awareness, it is seeing with this clear mind that all faults, all failures to do the right thing, and all afflictions, all great sufferings, they come, they arise because of this view of an ever-changing collection of parts. Seeing it as solid, self-existent, truly existent, permanent. And this is what we have always thought. And because we have thought it and repeated it since time without discoverable beginning, we have to over and over and over again negate it. To see that in fact, that I believe exists, cannot be found in the body, cannot be found in the mind, and cannot be found separate from those. And at some point in time, in a sense of deep meditation, looking, you may actually see directly the emptiness of the self. And then without a doubt, you habituate in that realization. That's the practice. So, when we work with our mind, our canvas becomes transformed. See, our awareness, it becomes transformed and becomes more and more essenceless. We don't take things so seriously. We begin to see through this solid sense of self and other. And the content also gets transformed. Content becomes less solid, and more positive thoughts and feelings and emotions arise, and less negative ones. Why? Because we're not entertaining the ones that we don't want, and we are growing the ones that we do, rejoicing in them, holding them in our mind, taking in the good. And even when negative thoughts arise, we aren't bothered. It doesn't really affect so much this empty essence of the mind. And this solid sense of I also transforms into being an I that is merely labeled on a collection of parts. So we recognize that we exist as an interdependent phenomenon rather than this separate individual self grasping. And when we recognize that, we can simply step off the wheel. This merry-go-round of pain. We don't have to keep pushing it. We don't have to. But we are compelled by our karmic imprints to do the same things over and over and over again, which is why we have to train. We have to train. So it's our consciousness. Our consciousness is whatever we're experiencing in the moment. That is what we're conscious of. That's what's happening in our consciousness. And when we focus our attention on something, it dominates our conscious experience. So we're talking about being able to develop the mind, to being able to develop a meditation practice that will be useful in cultivating a permanently happy life, right? Don't we want that? So at the same time that we can focus our attention, we can also be aware of this peripheral awareness, which I spoke of before. They're happening, both. Understanding how it works is really helpful. So we have stable awareness or stable attention. Stable attention. Attention and awareness are two different things. We can be aware, but we're talking about stable attention, attending to, focusing upon. So we can focus upon an object and cultivate a stable attention upon that. And we determine the scope of that attention. So it is that choice that we make. This object we choose, we set an intention to choose this object. I choose the breath. My intention is to choose the breath. This is my object upon which I will focus for the duration of this sit. We make a strong intention to do that. So for many of us, I think everyday life is a combobulation of distraction and busyness and doing and multitasking, this and that. We think we're focused on this, but at the same time, we're having a conversation with our friend, and at the same time, we're glancing over at our phone. Kind of split. But having a focused, the ability to actually be present. I think I mentioned yesterday when Roshi Joan Halifax suggested that the way to be with others is to be with, walk alongside, instead of the ongoing dialogue that we have when someone is talking to us. They're talking to us, we're thinking in our mind about what we're going to say, busy with that, instead of being with, walking alongside. I really like that. Just heard that yesterday for the first time, but I really like the way that's said. So being able to keep our attention focused. Thich Nhat Hanh said the greatest gift that you can give someone is to listen. So for many of us, we're very busy multitasking. So selecting and attending to the object is foreign to us. We don't typically wash the dishes while we're washing the dishes. We're automatically washing the dishes while we're listening to the news or talking to our friend or planning our day. But to be mindful of washing the dishes and then use the washing the dishes as a practice, we could say, being aware, the feeling of the water and the suds and the cloth as you wash the dish, you could be washing away all the sorrow of the world. And in that way, growing a warm heart. We have the potential in all of our actions to grow positive states of mind. But most of the time, we're unfocused with whatever it is that we're doing. We're driving on automatic pilot. When I moved from a house that I had lived in for many years to a new place, sometimes I would actually turn off of the street that I'm headed toward my new home, actually turn on the road to go to the old house and realize, oh, I don't live there anymore, and turn around and go back. Now, that was a few years ago. I don't think I would do that now, but maybe if we're focused on driving, we're really watching, and we're thinking when we see the people on the road, may you be happy. There's just so many ways to train our mind to be happy with ourselves. So generally speaking, our attention moves spontaneously, scanning, getting captured. Yeah? We're looking for things of interest. We walk into a room, and here there are so many things of interest in this very, very beautiful place. So this is alternating attention. We have sustained attention and we have alternating attention. And we may think that we have sustained attention, but we are actually alternating most of the time. Most of the time, something else. When I'm sitting and meditating on the breath and thoughts come, I maybe, even though it's so quick that it feels like I never leave the breath, I never lose the number. And I think I don't lose the breath, but it is quite possible that that thought has become real. And whether or not it's juicy enough, I either let it pass or I grasp it and make a story. Our job is to recognize with strong intention, if we really want to develop concentration, we must set a strong intention to cultivate this stable attention. Intend to attend, right? So this alternating attention is really only visible to someone who's meditating, because most of the time we think we're actually doing two things at once. We don't realize that we're doing two separate things. So it's everyone's attention alternates, whether you're a meditator or not. There's just an illusion of paying attention to two or more things simultaneously. I used to say, because I had a business, and you had to multitask, you had to be able to greet the person coming in the front door, answer the telephone, and push the copy button. So you had to be able to do that. And what I discovered over 20 years was that women have an uncanny ability to multitask. And men, now this is totally, pejorative, isn't it? Men are more linear and have an ability to be so focused. So it's just kind of guesswork, but I could see, like, I had men working for me, and they would be so focused on the graphic design job that they didn't hear the bell when the person came in the front door. They didn't have their antenna up. Whereas I think it's built into our DNA as mothers, because we have to be out there always looking for the children, always knowing what the children are doing. Now, some men are also caregivers of children, so they have that highly developed skill too. But I do see how it is that multitasking is more difficult for men and focusing is more difficult for women, I think. So women have this, I told Keith this, I said, I think that women have an easier time cultivating bodhicitta because of their mothering instinct. And men have more of an easier time cultivating emptiness. So we have to work on these qualities that we bring to the table. And that's not every single one. This one is that way, and this one is that way, and that's just an idea. So there's no science based behind that. I'm not holding that out as a truth. Don't hold me to it. So during our cramps in our legs, so unless we're purposely multitasking, now there is a time when we purposely multitask, which would be in a sadhana, where there is a lot going on, many different activities going on as you're going through. Could be as we're doing Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. So we're moving through our sadhana. But there is a sustained attention as we move through it. We can develop that sustained attention, never taking our eyes off video. When Ken Rinpoche Losang Tarchen asked Trijang Rinpoche in his previous incarnation, ask him, how do you develop concentration on a sadhana when there are so much movement? And Trijang Rinpoche said, this is nice. This is good to know. The sadhana is one object. So the whole practice is one object. And that's very powerful. If you see the whole sadhana as one object, when you have memorized your sadhana, you can go through that as a video, never losing. And it has a very profound effect on the body and mind as it changes. The energy changes and shifts through the practice. So that's how we grow. That's how we create progress, through intentional movements, intentional attention, movements and attention. So this intention to move the attention. So that's how we grow concentration on the sadhana. I remember Lama said that, but I never got it. I never understood how you could develop concentration on the sadhana. Anyway, memorizing it is one of the important aspects. So when we intentionally direct our attention, that means we make a conscious decision to pay attention. This is an important aspect. So we make a conscious decision to pay attention. Set the intention to pay attention. And after a bit of time, this directed attention wanders off, goes off somewhere. So we bring it back. As soon as we recognize that it has gone off, because we want to sustain our attention and we've determined we want to sustain our attention, we recognize when it has been captured on something else. Sustaining our attention is trickier than it may seem. May seem, oh, it should be pretty easy, just sit down, and bring your awareness. Nothing to do. So it's not very difficult to direct the mind voluntarily to an object, but sustaining it is how we go through the 9 stages of meditation. First we place it, and then we keep bringing it back. And then we patch the gaps where it's gone off. And then we sustain it. And when we are able, in the 4th stage of meditation, to sustain the object for the duration of the meditation, sometimes people think that's it. That's calm abiding. I did it. But in fact, actually, what we're doing is resting in dullness, because we're not sharp. So once you're in that state, the 4th, where you keep it, then you have to look whether or not you're slipping into this, oh, this is so nice. Just stay in subtle dullness. But here's the trick. This is what, and I can say that this was an eye-opener to me when I first heard this, that the part of the mind that sustains attention for more than a few moments works entirely unconsciously. It has to be trained. We can't just decide, I'm going to stay. We have to train it. Sustained attention has to be trained. We can't use our will to control how long we remain focused on the object. So there's this unconscious process weighing the importance of what we're focused on against peripheral awareness, which is trying to vie for that attention. So think about this. I think it's really fascinating. So if an object is important enough or interesting enough, attention remains stable. And how do you make it important enough or interesting enough? So if something else is judged more important or interesting, then attention moves elsewhere. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, well, it's hopeless, isn't it? Hopeless. But no, the important part is that we can still influence our conscious control through consciously held intentions. So I think this is what Geshe Lama Kuncho used to call, maybe this is ngar. He said, hold it. He had his cane, and he said, you hold it not like this, but like this. So it's not like you're holding it tight like this, but you hold it steady. And you make this very strong intention just by intending to observe an object and coming back to that object whenever we get distracted. We're training that unconscious process. That's why it's important to come back, not to give up. when you've lost it. So this training, this unconscious process helps us to stay focused more continuously. We're informing our unconscious awareness that this is important because I'm coming back to it again and again. This is important. This particular thing is important. That's why repetition is important. So any information that's held in the consciousness, and this is what Rick Hansen said, hold it for 20 seconds and it creates a new neural pathway. Honestly, it's just like, wow. Anything that is held in consciousness is communicated to the unconscious. So if I do this over and over again, so I'm telling my unconscious that this is important. So pay attention. So intentionally holding the thought, creating a new neural pathway, deepens the one that we have already created. And the implication is that the more we perform an action, the more we will. And this is reinforced by Tilopa, which I mentioned yesterday. View the mind as having no thought other than repetition. Repeat, rewind, repeat. And do it again and again. So it's interesting to keep in mind that this reinforces just the idea that that to which we attend in the moment becomes our reality. Then just knowing that and remembering that, then that reinforces our willingness or our dedication, our devotion to actually doing the practice again. And there are rewards for doing it again and again. So I think when we engage in more happy making, we want to do, we spontaneously want to do it ongoingly. We look forward to the time when we can go to our cushion. We've created the space and we look forward to the time to do it. To train the mind that what appears before it is joyful. Simple. Like Lady Naguma said, so obvious we don't see it, so simple we don't believe it, so easy we don't trust it. But there it is. Obvious, simple, and easy, right? Okay, 3 minutes till lunchtime. So in case we don't make it back to our cushion for whatever reason, let's just take a moment to dedicate the time that we have spent. Put it in the bank that yields the highest return. Dedicate it to fulfilling our highest human potential. Cultivating all the noble qualities of humanity in order that we may be of the best service to all beings. And also please dedicate to the swift return of Mahamudra Rinpoche. And to those in our own life who have either passed away or who are ill. May they be healed or may they have fortunate rebirths. And may the word war be eliminated from the dictionary because it has become obsolete. Okay.